Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we are talking about the state of the game. But first, a message from our sponsor. Sponsored by Royalty Playmat Designs, the perfect way to get a custom and exclusively for you design for your Vanguard playmats. Choose your units, choose some or no zones, choose a tagline, a team name, the name of your bunny. Anything your heart desires at Royalty Playmat Designs. When I talk about the state of the game, I'm talking about the general health of the game, or in 4 pillars, I'd say how competitive it is, how fun it is in general for people, the growth, how many new players come in or how many players leave, and then of course its future in general. Starting with competitive, I think what's very interesting is right now we have lots of meta decks, and I mean lots. Like, people often are bitching, oh, only Gears is good. Look at, okay, even if you don't agree with my tier list, a lot of people do, just look at the tier list. In general, we have like 6, maybe 7 tier 1 decks right now. That's absolutely insane. Other decks, look at Yu-Gi-Oh! They just had a format where you had 2 competitive decks, Zodiac and Draco King, and that was it. The top 8s were just those, Zodiac and Draco. In Magic, it's usually the same thing. You have 2, maybe 3 meta decks, and then all the rest is just tier 2, completely irrelevant. And we just have 6 or maybe even 7 tier 1 decks that can all do great at tournaments, and even a lot of tier 1.5 or tier 2, however you want to call it, decks that can also top 8 and maybe even top 3 very consistently. That means 2 things. A, either the game is very well balanced, and I'm actually going for that one, or other people will say, oh, it's because there's so much luck involved. And this could be a topic for a video in general, but I will say this. If you say Vanguard depends 100% on luck, or like a majority on luck, you are probably never topping, because the game is a card game, and every trading card game has loads of luck. If your hand in Magic is flooded with lands, you lose. If your hand in Magic doesn't have any lands, you lose. If you didn't draw the right curve of lands, like the mana you need for certain cards you need to cast, you lose. In Yu-Gi-Oh! You get 1 card every turn. So if you don't draw into drawing cards and you're like kinda losing, you're done for, because you depend on drawing 1 single card. You don't go through your deck very fast once your engine kinda bricks. It's the same for Magic. Whereas we have our draw and then we have our drive checks. So on one hand, people are bitching, oh, drive checks add luck, but those drive checks also decrease luck because you go through your deck faster, which means your games run more consistently. And so, yes, there's a luck factor. Yes, you can get crit sacked. That exists. But people really need to understand the flip side of the coin, that those drive checks actually decrease luck as well. I would say competitively Vanguard is in a pretty good spot. There aren't very many super competitive players, but the game definitely lends itself to being pretty competitive right now, I would say. Let's go into fun. I think fun-wise, the game is in a really nice spot because there's lots of options. You can play a lot of decks that stand a chance, just like my last point. What I kind of mean, which you can play a lot of decks, is there are no decks right now that are so painfully oppressive that a certain other deck just stands no chance. It's not like if you play a tier 2 deck right now, like let's say Victor, and you go up against a tier 1 deck, that you will be crying the whole time and the whole game is shit. The fun aspect is still there. There is nothing painfully oppressive, in my opinion. That might, however, change with the upcoming Link Joker booster, depending on, like, if they give Link Joker even more stuff that just locks full fields and keeps them locked and gives you the opponent no choice whatsoever, okay, that might become oppressive, but we don't know. We don't know all the cards yet, so for now I will say the fun factor is actually going pretty good. Next up, growth. Are new players coming in? Now, I can obviously not look into the actual statistics from Bushiroad. It's pretty obvious that they won't disclose their sales numbers to us. What I will say, however, is that my locals personally is growing tremendously. We started off with around 5 people. Well, when I started, maybe 4 even, but let's say we started with 5 or 6 people, and then over the course of the last 2 years, we grew to 25 people from time to time. And now we pretty consistently get 20 people per tournament. People seem to be positive. I'm not sure about America. It feels like it's the same. Like certain BCSs just keep getting huge numbers and then other ones don't. I'd say it's growing, but not by a big margin or anything. Just enough to keep the game afloat. Now, as many people know, in Legion, the Legion era, a lot of players quit because it was just such a clusterfuck, but then a lot of people started coming back. Now it's Stride in the later Stride boosters, because the game just got way more interesting. The amount of things you can do in a turn and plays leading to other plays is just so much bigger. I really don't understand how anyone can say there was more skill involved in the Limit Break era. I get there's nostalgia, like people, if I compare to World of Warcraft, you always have people going, ah, vanilla was the best time. But if you're just gonna be objective for a second, the Stride era is so much more interesting now than the Limit Break era. Limit Break was literally, you had a bunch of vanillas, you did some basic math, and then you hoped your one Vanguard skill was amazing, like Raging Form or Chaos or whatever. Whereas now, you can do 20 plays in one turn and that all leads to something way bigger, and you have so many options and your opponent does something and you can guard in a certain way and your skills activate and blah blah blah. Back in the day you just had your Limit Break skill and then someone had to throw down 2 crits and oh, it was guarded, okay, GG, next turn. Overall, I think the Stride era really helped the game survive. If it wasn't for that, I think it would have died, definitely. Now, when we talk about growth, there's one huge elephant in the room, and that is how hard is it to get into the game. And that's actually the biggest negative right now. When we watch certain prices made by certain sellers on TCG Player, it becomes pretty obvious that some people are trying to abuse the secondary market for big gains. The secondary market, there have been craploads of videos about this, but there are people who I won't mention by name, but if you just go to TCG Player and see, hey, some cards just got a new reveal and now they're all bought up and this one store is selling 40 of them at triple the price that they used to be. Well, that's a buyout, and there's some people who really try to profit off that. Some people with YouTube channels even. And so that's an issue. The secondary market is the biggest issue when it comes to the growth of the game. And here's why. If a new player wants to get into the game right now, they have to shell out $150 to $200 to get a deck that will hold up against other finished decks. And that's fucked up, because right now, if someone wants to start a game and play, let's say, Angel Feather or Nova Grappler, they will soon find out that their boss monster alone, getting a playset of it, is more than a trial deck, is more than 2 trial decks even, money-wise. And so it's next to impossible to start the game with the clan you want, because some clans just way too expensive because triple Rs weren't printed enough. Just look at Avenir Phoenix. Let's say a new player wants to get into Zodiac Time Beast right now. 2 weeks ago, Avenir Phoenix was $2 and I was like, you know, I could buy this out. I could have literally spent $150 buying 75 Avenir Phoenixes and sold them right now at $10 a pop, and I would have made more than 1,000. It's absolutely disgusting though. People did, and that's why it's so expensive right now. So if someone wants to start playing Zodiac Time Beast right now, they have to shell out $40 for 4 strides instead of 8, because some people, well, just bought it out. It's not an actual supply and demand chain. People go, oh, but it's supply and demand, it's the market, learn economics, lol. That's not it. It's literally people buying stuff out and keeping the supply in one place. The secondary market is an issue for the growth of the game. So a few possible fixes would be, and this was a very interesting idea, dual decks. So just like in Magic, we should have trial decks, but with the boss monsters of clans that didn't get a print in a trial deck. For example, Angel Feather and Nova Grappler. We really need 2 trial decks, Angel Feather and Nova, or Angel Feather and Mega Colony or whatever, in one box for a small price, so that 2 new players can learn the game and actually get into the game, and simultaneously that allows us to reprint stuff like Unflip Perfect Guards, Stride Fodders, the crits for Gavrael itself, and same thing for the other clan. Because some prices of these Unflip PGs or these crits are absolutely insane. It's the cost of those cards that's making it impossible to enter the game, because sure, some commons might be okay to get, some booster cards, blah blah blah, are okay to get, but there's certain staples that everyone needs, and if they don't get reprinted, no one can start the deck, even though the other cards are perfectly fine price-wise. I will leave it at that for now. This video is getting very long, so I will make a part 2 of the state of the game where I will cover the last few topics. Please be sure to subscribe for that, like the video, and perhaps comment what you think.